So I've been poring through all the data mined information, trying to understand the factual systems running under the hood in Space Marine 2. Suffice to say, the lack of a testing dummy or firing range makes this problematic at best. Here's the cliff notes of what I've seen consistently replicated and or verified personally so that you can make evidence-based decisions on ranged weapon choices instead of going by feels. Quick PSA, this is for the 3.1 patch. So, depending on when you're watching this, these may or may not reflect the current state of mechanics. For the information gathered by others, I'll leave links in the description below to the original posts, both to credit their work and so y'all can take a deeper look if you like. There's some baseline mechanical assumptions to work with here. First, baseline headshot multiplier is 2 times normal damage, not the 4 that I've seen bandied about online. Part of the reason here is that each weapon has its own headshot multiplier, which appears additive to the baseline 2 times. Each enemy faction has individual damage received multipliers. This is why we see differences between Rubric Marines and Tyranid Warriors. There's some questions about whether or not individual enemy subtypes, such as different ranged variants, have unique damage received modifiers. There aren't consistent findings that I could see across multiple different testers. More replication here is required. Minoris appear to have a higher headshot multiplier than Majoris, which is partially why we can one-tap headshot them, regardless of what weapon we're using, excepting Plasma, of course, which doesn't get a headshot multiplier. Ranged Majoris appear to be baseline for damage calculations in-game, and subsequently, melee Majoris take 33% less damage than ranged. Also, damage fall-off at range is a harsh and uncompromising mistress. Really, the key takeaways on this are pretty simple. Weapons feeling awful until their relic tier is not a bug, it's a feature. It is working as intended, as you can get between 50 and 80% additional raw damage just by leveling it up before you account for any perks. Raw weapon stats are important, but they're not the only factor to consider. It would be pretty foolish to base decisions purely on per-shot damage or paper DPS, while you also disregard rate of fire, recoil, weapon bloom, piercing, or perks for each of those weapons. And this is before even attempting to account for player skill or input method. The Oculus, the Carbine, the Autobolt, and the Heavy Bolt all lag notably behind the others. Heavy makes up for it a bit with increased accuracy, piercing, and mag size, which improves your overall effective DPS, and the Carbine claws some ground back because you're barrel stuffing, so you shouldn't be losing potential paper DPS anyway. And finally, the Melta and Multi-Melta are just silly. We all already knew that, but seeing the math on how each individual click is an AoE equivalent to somewhere between a charge shot from a plasma pistol and an incinerator is dumb. Really, at this point, I feel like our best bet here is to go through the table, look at the individual stats, really sit with ourselves about whether or not we can reliably hit headshots and how we prefer to play, and then use that to inform our decisions of what we play with. Realistically, there's so much information hidden from us in terms of how the game works that, to some extent, it's an exercise in futility. The community is making pretty excellent progress disassembling and reverse engineering things. There's only so much we can do. Personally, I was surprised to see just how complex these systems are, compared to other games I've played, and the black and white data behind what we've been suspecting all along, with bolt weapons lagging behind or Meltas just being kind of dumb. I'm curious though. What stands out to you in all this? Drop a comment on how this changes your opinion of specific weapons in-game, or maybe it reinforced your existing bias. Let us know. I've been Bald Squid. I'll see you next time.